Dear God, Dear God, thank you so much for this time. Thank you for this opportunity for us to be about you and for you in this place. God, I pray that your will for each and every one of us would become a little bit clearer tonight, that you would expose yourself to each and every one of us in a unique and individual way as we're on our own walks with you. Thank you so much for this time, this opportunity. In your name I pray, amen. It's a good crowd. All right, appreciate it. Now stop. All right. Appreciated. Funny for the first 2 seconds. Okay. All right. So, last week, we went through the grinder together, guys. We went through absolute truth. We can get through that. We can get through anything, right? Because that was culturally offensive stuff that we talked about. So we talked about the fact that there is truth last week. This week, we're going to kind of dive into what that truth is, because that's important for us to know, and we're going to keep doing it. So after the next couple of weeks, we're going to talk about what the basic truths are of our belief, because sometimes we don't know. And if we do know, it's good for us to be reminded. So with that, we're going to take a trip back into Ephesians. I know you miss it, so we're bringing it back. This is Ephesians 2, 1 through 5. As for you, you were dead in your transgressions and sins, in which you used to live when you followed the ways of this world and of the ruler of the kingdom of the air, the spirit who is now at work in those who are disobedient. All of us also lived among them at one time, gratifying the cravings of our flesh and following its desires and thoughts. Like the rest, we were by nature deserving of wrath, but because of his great love for us, God, who is rich in mercy, made us alive with Christ, even when we were dead in transgressions. It is by grace you have been saved. Now, if we break that down, what we're left with is a story, right? It's our story, or God's story for us. And most of us know how it starts. We've heard it 1,000 times. There was Adam and Eve are in a garden, and everything's good. Literally, the world was perfect, right? Man and God are walking together in the cool of the day. And Genesis 1:31 says, God saw all that he had made, and it was very good. And if God said something was very good, then I bet you $100 it was very good. And there was evening and there was morning the sixth day. Then it all blows up, right? The young couple had a long conversation with a serpent, bite the forbidden fruit, and the world falls into sin due to Adam's disobedience. Now, really quick, oftentimes if we grow up in the church or we're around this stuff long enough, these stories from the Old Testament, what they can kind of get put in this box with fantasy for us. Not saying that we don't believe it, but so often we can have, because we hear these stories as kids and we hear them in Sunday school, what can happen is you have Cinderella, you got Noah and the Ark, you got Jack and the Beanstalk, and you have Adam and Eve. And if you struggle with belief, again, I feel you, I get that, I've been there. But last week, what did we say? This book is true or it isn't. And if this is true, then that means that there is deep significance in this story to all of us as individuals. So what is it? I'm so glad you asked. Let me tell you. Adam served as our representative. Basically, so he was the first human, and when he screwed up, we all screwed up. Now, when we say that, initially there's something can come up and it's like, that's not fair. That's really not fair. That's not cool. Now, go with me here. Let's just pretend we're all in a class together. We're all in a class. That'd be fun, right? We're all in a class together. And the teacher, professor, principal, whatever, comes up to you and he says, hey, if you guys want to graduate to the next grade, you need to pass the test. It's a really, really hard test. You need to get 100% on this test. And if you pass, you can graduate. That's just the rules. Thanks, Obama. And you get, and this test, here's the deal. Only one of you need to take it. One student from your class needs to take it. So we have to pick somebody.
Smartest person.
You're not going to pick Johnny the pothead who comes in halfway through class every week. The kid who reeks after lunch. You're not going to pick the kid who doesn't know what a folder is. You know, he shows up to class with all of his papers like this. It's like, it's called a folder. What's wrong with you? That was me, and I can't even talk about it. You're going to pick the kid whose hand is in a perpetual state of this, right? Like he's always like this. He's just ready. He thinks he's on like a game show. He thinks he's like, just the minute the teacher like whispers, I know. And you kind of hate that kid. But that's the kid you want. The kid who is on time, he's getting his grade, right? Valedictorian, that guy. So that's the guy that we elect. Like every school has like that brilliant kid. And if you don't, pretend you do. Brilliant kid. Right? And we can safely assume that this brilliant kid who's on his way to Oxford or Harvard, if he doesn't pass the test, then none of us would. Now, I know that's a flawed analogy, and there's probably a couple smart kids thinking, I would pass it. But in general, that's what I'm trying to say. My point is this. Adam was our best shot. If Adam couldn't do it, none of us could do it. Just think about it for a second. The world was perfect. This guy examined the fabric of creation it was meant to be. This guy had walks with the real, living, breathing God every evening. Guys, he didn't have an iPhone with internet access and history that he can delete. He lived in a place where there wasn't a lot of people for him to really get in fights with. He didn't have to drive on streets where this lane ends, and there's this big sign that tells you that the lane ends, but people just can't seem to get it. And then when you get to the crucial junction where the lane ends, they just look over at you and are like, oops. And so I've got to let you in now, and then you just, everything in you wants to give them a certain gesture, but you don't, you slow down. How many times have I phoned to sit in that area? I can't even count. So if I didn't even have that, I'd be a lot closer. Not close, really, but the point is, if anybody was going to do it, it was Adam. That, without people like that, really would be paradise. If anybody had a shit, it was Adam. Now, if that's still too jagged of a pill for you to swallow, that you are inherently evil, have you sinned? Okay, you're with Adam now. There you go. Even if you don't like it. No matter how you slice it, it comes down to one brutal, honest fact. And I know that you felt like you got your fill of those last week. One brutal, honest fact, and that is you and I deserve hell. By nature, that's what we deserve. If you believe the Bible, then this is the conclusion that you're going to end up coming to about yourself and about the rest of humanity. And we can do the song and dance around it. We can concede to it and not really receive it as biblical truth. But biblical truth is this. You and I, left to our own devices, are going to the same place as those people that we talk about with contempt and disgust. Murderers, thieves, liars, the whole bunch. Left to our own devices, you and I deserve hell. Now, that seems a little bit extreme, right? Yes. Well, let me ask you this, though. Who in this room wants to sin sometimes? Just really quick, just so that we're all on the same page. Who in this room has ever wanted to sin? Well, you, okay. Who's ever done it at least once? Just one time? All of us? Who in this room would be comfortable with the TV floating over their head with their thoughts just 100% of the time? No. I would be asked to leave the country. Well, there you go. Right there. We are all objects of God's wrath and deserve eternal separation from him. Aren't you glad you came to youth group? Yeah. Hang in there. Hang in there. The reason that seems extreme is because it is. And because God is extreme. Yes. He's extremely good. He's extremely awesome, and he's extremely perfect. Now, obviously, extremely perfect is redundant. You good? Okay. Extremely perfect is redundant. Perfect is perfect. But if we think about it, it really does make sense. I'm going to use this analogy. I know this is kind of similar to the last one, but we're all students, so it's just really easy. All right, let's bring it back really quick. All right, this is the analogy that we're going to use. Pretend you're just in a class. It's you and one other person, right? And this class, if you pass this class, get 100% on it, you get full scholarship to college. Yeah, that's a big deal. Shh, a little less commentary, guys. So, you're in this class. It's you and one other kid. It's you and it's a kid named Buckwheat. Yeah, his name's Buckwheat. And you're here and you're studying, right? You're studying for this class and you're in there and there's sweat coming from your brow profusely as you study. It's dripping onto your hand. Your hand is cramping from all the notes you're taking. You're going hard. And then you got Buckwheat in the back with just a pencil in his ear, just seeing how far he can get it down his ear canal. Pulling it out and examining it. But you study, and then the weeks before the test, you're studying ahead of time. You're using those things called study guides that we never use. You're covering all your bases. You're doing it. And the day of the test comes. And you're reciting this stuff in your sleep. You know it. You turn in that test. You need 100%. And you get it back. And you get a 97. Buckwheat gets a 4. Here's the thing. You needed 100 to pass the test, right? You got a 97. What did you do? Failed. You failed. What did Buckwheat do? Failed. You, technically, you failed less. But you still failed. And the truth of it is, God's standard is perfection. God's standard is 100%. He needs to be just. That's perfect. He's perfect. That's all he can be. Now, if we're not careful, we can really let this warp our perception of God. We can turn it into, why would God's standards be so high? Or why would God, and we can get angry. And again, I've been there too. But let's think about this for a second. What if his standard wasn't perfection? What if God's standard wasn't perfection? What if it was arbitrary? What if he was like you? Or worse yet, like me? Just like a quick example, has anyone ever gotten a phone call and someone asks you to hang out? And you're like in one of those moods where all you want to do is watch Netflix. And they call you and they're like, hey, you going to come to this party? So-and-so's going to be there. Like, oh, I can't stand so-and-so because of this. And then what about, I can't. That's what you're thinking in your head. We do that. As people, we take traits that people have and we let it become this, we let it be something that we use to identify them and treat them differently. If God wasn't perfect, God could do that. It's good that he's perfect. It's good that he's not like us. Because if he wasn't, we would constantly have to wonder where we stand with God. When God's perfect, we don't. We know where we stand. We're guilty because he's perfect. And that's a good thing. Now, you and I, fam, guys, we just don't make the cut. We are sinners by nature. God's standard is perfection, and we all fall short by a long shot. And that right there is one of the most important truths that you can have in your walk with Jesus as individuals. It's really important to know that you're not good enough on your own, that you are a sinner, that you need help, that you need Jesus. And it's also this really awesome thing. It gives us this thing called perspective. Because we can have these high moments in life, these moments we're feeling good about ourselves. Maybe we're reading our Bible every day, or we're praying all the time. Maybe we're bringing people to youth group. Maybe we're just killing it in school. We're killing it on tests. And we can just fall into this trap where we actually think that we're awesome. We can actually think that we're like the ish. And it's really hard to do that when you keep in mind the fact. It's hard to fall into that trap of arrogance when you know deep down at the end of the day, what you deserve is eternal separation from God. On the opposite end of the spectrum, we don't need to freak out when we sin, right? God's not sitting there watching you make a mistake and just profusely vomiting. It's not like he's watching you make a mistake and it's like the end of an M. Night Shyamalan movie for him. He's just like, oh, I can't believe he did that. God knows. God knows that we're broken. God knows that we're going to make mistakes. And I can't tell you how many times I've had this conversation with my dad, where I'm sitting there with my dad and he comes into my room and asks me what's up. And I screwed up doing something stupid. And I'll go like this to him. I'll go, I can't believe I did that. I can't believe that I did that. And my dad always responds the same way. Why? You really have that hard of a time believing that you messed up. Guess what? God is not asking that question. He never has, and he never will. He knows. I'm not trying to make light of sin or saying that it's something that we should do. But we don't need to, so often we sin and then we freak out and think that God's just sitting up there just losing his mind. And then we run away. We run away from God. We run away from church. We run away from our Bibles. Guys, we should definitely run every time we sin, but we should run this way. Because God's not freaked out. God is not freaked out by the mistakes we make. He knows what we're going to do, and he knows about the worst stuff that's in there. But we are still sinners, right? At the end of the day, that's where we're at. So where does that leave us? It leaves us on the back end of that verse that we read at the beginning. Like the rest, we are by nature deserving of wrath. But because of his great love for us, God, who is rich in mercy, made us alive with Christ, even when we were dead in transgressions. It is by grace you have been saved. Basically, it leaves us with a butt. My dad's referred to it as the world's most beautiful butt. Men, you can stare at this butt all day long, and it's only going to bless you in your relationship with God. It's kind of funny. Come on. But guys, that phrase, that verse right there, that's everything. That's everything. But because of his great love for us, God, who is rich in mercy, made us alive in Christ. No, you're not good enough. Yes, you are a sinner. Yes, you are broken. Yes, you are unworthy. Yes, you deserve hell. Yes, you're weak, but you are saved by a grace of a God who loves you. Guys, that right there, that's like the fodder for fairy tales right there. There's a reason that we all respond so intensely to all that cliche, worn-out love story stuff that we see in chick flicks, right? There's a reason that we love to see the prince pick the servant girl, or to see the dirtball get the prom queen, or to see Rocky beat Apollo, or to see at the end of Mighty Ducks when Charlie hits the goalie with the triple deke to win the game, to beat the Hawks. Mighty Ducks is the bomb. The point is, the reason that we love fairy tales, the reason that we love that storyline of the unworthy getting chosen by the great, benevolent, powerful, well-off being is because we're all being called to that. We're all being called to the real thing. God found a way. This is wild. God found a way to uphold his perfection, to uphold his standard, to uphold his justice, and at the same time found a way to make guilty sinners innocent. And he did it for us. He searched cosmic morality for the one way to make you holy and blameless in his eyes. And then he found it. And you know what the cool thing is? He did it. Even though he didn't have to. He didn't. Sometimes we think about that God is just this person who's just exasperated with us because all the stuff he has to do for us. He didn't have to. Even though it was hard, even though it meant death on a tree, it was an inconvenience for God. Now, we respond so intensely when someone opens a door for us. Like, oh, I can't believe he did that for me. But we lose sight of the fact that God searched cosmic morality to find the one way to make you his, and then pursued it, despite the pain and suffering he knew it was going to cause him. But why? Why did he? Hey, guys, for real? Why did he do it? It says it right in there, because of his great love for us. And sometimes we can get mowed down when we talk about truth. We talked about truth last week. We get caught up in all the things that we have to do, all the things that we have to profess, all the things we have to believe. And we can lose sight of the fact that all of that stuff, all of those hard things are just to supplement this truth right here, which is you are loved by the creator of the universe intensely. That sentence right there, because of his great love for us, that right there should be enough to expel the memory of every lonely night where you've sat in your bedroom and thought that nobody liked you. And I know that it doesn't. I know that words are cheap because we're short-sighted, at least I am, and it's hard for me to look at life with that eternal perspective. But really, the significance of that phrase should eliminate that. It should take away the hurt that comes from when you think of somebody who ripped your heart out, boyfriend, girlfriend. It should take away that pain from that parent who has hurt you or isn't giving you what you need. That right there, though, that collection of words, it cements in eternity one beautiful life-giving fact, and that's this: you matter. Not because of anything you did, because we're sinners, we've established that, but because your dad in heaven looked down and saw you trapped in your depravity and said, I will go through whatever means necessary to make you mine. Christianity is a relationship, guys. That's what it is. It's our response to that. It's God's master plan to love us as if we were perfect, even though we're not. Remember that next time you're in a tough spot, right? Remember that next time you sin and you want to run away. Remember that next time you're on the verge of tears in your bedroom, or after a crappy day of school, or after so-and-so breaks up with you. After you find out that you're moving, your parents are in a bad spot. Remember that next time, those voices, no matter where you're at in life, everybody is susceptible to these voices going off in our head saying that you don't matter, that you're not good enough, you're not pretty enough, you're not tall enough, you should be smarter, you should be faster, stronger, whatever it is. You right now, where you stand as you are, were deemed by the creator of the universe as worth dying for. Nobody can take that from you. Nothing can change that truism. So, we're sinners. And that's important for us to remember. It means that there's no excuse for self-righteousness, ever. Because the only thing keeping us from hell is Jesus' love for us. So often we have Christians who talk about the rest of the world like they're dirt, like they're scum. Talk about certain demographics of people like they're these just like animals. And completely and totally oblivious to the fact that the only thing that separates you from them is a God that chose you. That's an important thing to remember. It means we don't need to freak out when we sin, because God knows that we're sinners. And I'm not saying that makes it okay to sin, but I'm saying that means that we don't have to be panicky and run and freak out and think that the world's ending and He knows. He loves you. There's a reason He concocted this master plan. It's because He knew we were going to screw up. And He still wanted to find a way to love us like we were perfect. Lastly, Jesus loves you so, so much. I know that can feel far away. I know that can sound cheesy, but that is that's a truth about who you are as individuals. Try and lean on that. Try and lean on that. We can lose sight of it. We can, because we have these songs that we've been reciting since we were 6, it can kind of just get numb. We're numb to these things. That is as true as it ever was every single day. As you guys go to college, when you guys are in science class, when you guys are alone in your bedrooms, the creator of the universe knows you matter. All that Christianity really is just a response to that. Next time you're struggling with self-worth, and high school is hard. Sometimes high school really, really sucks. Sometimes the things people say, the things people do, or the things that we want to do but we can't do, or we wish we were better, we can just let it control us and make us feel like garbage. Nothing. I know that I'm not trying to minimize what you guys are going through, but take a step back and just think about that for a second. The creator of the grass out there looks down at you and just is like, oh, you matter. I know we're stupid humans, and it's impossible to truly grasp that. But if you are just looking for some direction in your prayer life, focus on that. Just God, help me understand your love for me better. Because if we can just grasp an inch of it, it'll change our relationship. It'll change our relationship with God, and it'll change our life. All right, I'll get off my soapbox. I'm going to pray really quick, and then you guys are free to hang out till the end of the night. And I'll be around till 8:15 if you want to talk. And hey, if there's anybody in this room who isn't a Christian or hasn't made that decision, I don't know if there is anybody. I'm up here till 8:15. No pressure. I'm not going to throw handcuffs on you and take you in the back and hold you over a vat of boiling acid until you say yes. But I would love to talk to you about it. I would love to talk to you about it. I'd love to pray with you. I'm up here for that. And if you just want to come and talk to me too and just hang out, that'd be good too. All right, I'm going to pray. Dear God, thank you so much for this time. Thank you for this beautiful group of high schoolers and leaders. God, moving forward, I pray that you would just bless this room. I pray you would bless the people in here and that you protect them through their school weeks. You protect them as they go through life and are getting bombarded with a bunch of just crap. And that you would keep them focused and centered on the only thing that really matters, is your intense and passionate love for them. In your name I pray, amen. All right, cool.